when the synchronicity happens, I take my time with it. I take my time, and usually when it happens, you're very much in the 3D. You're usually not at nap time or, relaxing in a hammock or, usually you're like at your desk or you're driving or something's happening, that you're like very in the 3D. And I just use it as a chance to take a deep breath, relax my shoulders, wait for the message that's going to come through. If it's not clear, okay, you're playing a little trick on me right now. I'm still listening. I'm still here. Give me a little knock later with another synchronicity. And I just get into a good mood, and I let this 3D reality go and the stress of it. And I don't take anything too seriously anymore at that moment. And I take a break. Because it's so much more fun in 5D or in living in synchronicities, knowing that life is actually, we're just kind of here to experience synchronicity after synchronicity, and all this other mumbo jumbo that's happening in the 3D is not the important stuff. That the synchronicities and living there is the important stuff, because it's fun and it's full of connection and joy.
Welcome to Connecting with Coincidence. I am your host, Bernard Beitman. I love synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, serendipity, trying to figure out what they tell us about the nature of reality. And the more I do it, the more it becomes clearer. And artificial intelligence can be an aid to this, as much as people might be afraid of it. Digital versus analog, I think it's possible to bring them together. And I'm working on ways to be able to do that. Well, I had a kind of surprising to me coincidence the other day. I received a new credit card, and I looked at the security code. It was a 4-digit security code, and I said, those numbers are the same numbers as the last 4 digits of my home phone number. So I said, what? Okay. So I played around with it, and since our guest today, Sugar Rae Leonard, is going to be likes to play around with numbers, I'm going to ask her about what she thinks about that. Sugar Rae Leonard, for some of you don't know, was a boxer, probably in the 50s and the 60s, was pretty good. And so Rae knows that name and has called herself that. So I might call her Sugar a couple of times during this. I don't get to do that very often, call somebody Sugar. So she's an intuitive energy worker, author, and researcher, and is skilled in a number of alternative healing modalities. Her latest book, HIGH SOBRIETY, that's a takeoff on high society, in case anybody wasn't born in 1930 or 1940. A trip out of the bottle and into your intuition. It's a great image. It's like the genie got out of the bottle and got into her intuition. A wild read where she shares her rocky road of addiction with a wry gleam, which you can kind of see on her right now. Her story moves from fleeting glimpses of her past to a transformation of a life now filled with limitless self-love, jubilant health, and boundless joy. I can feel it just talking with her right before, and you'll feel it too. In her intuitive practice, Rae combines her innate gifts with Healy, a frequency device that divine beings in their most exalted state get seen in states of health, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, they're in good shape in their highest state of consciousness. Healy technology delivers energetic adjustments, which brings her clients effortlessly into that matching bioenergetic state. Bioenergetic state, yeah. We are energy beings, ladies and gentlemen, energy beings. By communicating to the quantum field, the information field in the unseen realm that is just waiting for us to tap in. And she's tapped into it, as we'll see. Einstein said, match the frequency of the reality you want, and you can't help but get that reality. The trick is to match the frequency, and the trick is to know what frequency you can do yourself. There's a lot to that. He called it not a philosophy, but a physics. And I think that's true. But what is a frequency that works for you that can work, that you can then match external frequencies with, and you'll be drawn to that. And sometimes, as much as you might want to, you're not going to be, and things blow up. And then you get a chance to reboot and come back to find that frequency. Rae works with a holistic health community in Stone Ridge, New York, where alternative health practitioners offer a wide range of services at no charge to the community. She feels it is a model for a new paradigm of healthcare that addresses body, mind, and spirit, and that favors the least invasive modalities whenever possible. Rae reminds us that we're not victims in this life. We are divine, angelic, infinite beings. And this is where I run into some trouble, Rae. We are divine, infinite beings who can decide to change our lives at every moment. I want to stop there. We'll come back to the other thing, but we can decide. But I'm a therapist, and right now I've got one patient, two really, uh, who are know they need to do, but they kind of decide to change, but they can't. So there's a big step between deciding to change and actually changing. So what do you think
Mm.
about that? Then we'll get to the story I started with at the beginning.
Sure, sure, Dr. Beatman. Well, I think that what are the tools that you can help a person apply at this time when they've made the decision they want to change something in their life, and yet the proof in their life is it's not happening, it's not happening, and that's what they're focusing on. So I would suggest pretending, a little play acting, and getting into the feeling of what it feels like to have had success already in whatever it is that they are wanting to change, and do play out a little fantasy, really think about it, get into your heart about it, and walk forward in faith that it has already changed. Because I find that when you do that, I really like the work of Neville Goddard. He was really, really into this. He said he was a biblical man. He was a Christian, and he said when you go through the Bible, substitute imagination for God. And I love that. So when you get into your imagination and you just start working with the feelings of knowing that you have already changed this, to me, that's the key.
That's so important, and I'm very glad you remind me because I keep forgetting that it's about the future, not about the past, and just pretend. I mean, I'm reading Alice in Wonderland again, and she loves to pretend, and I like to pretend too. I pretend like I'm doing a talk show here, and it's turns out it can be reality. So I thank you for that suggestion. And let's go to that story I told at the beginning about getting a credit card with a security code that matches the last four digits of my home phone number. And AI told me that, I guess, approximately 1 out of 5,000 chance that could happen. It's quite a low probability for it to happen. And you enjoy numbers, so tell us about something about how you would approach this synchronicity.
Well, what I like is how you approached it. And I think that everyone can find how they approach it, how they're having fun with it, to make sure you're having a good time, because everything is in the joy of it. And for you, you spent time, you went on AI and um, you looked it up. So you gave the spirit guides, which I believe is how the synchronicity, they use synchronicity to kind of get our attention and let us know that they're there for us and that we're on the right path and they're helping us in our day. And so the numbers that I usually find are, I look at the clock 11:11, 12:12, 1:11, 2:22, and have a number of friends, and we text that to each other all the time. And it's a game. And then I spend a few moments. This is what I do. You go on AI and you're giving that realm of synchronicity or spirit guides or whatever you like, angels or um, helpers, guides, whatever you like to call them. You're giving them attention in that moment. You're not just going, "Oh, that was a coincidence." On to your next thing to do in the 3D reality, which is very dense and heavy. You're allowing yourself to spend time with the synchronicity or coincidence.
And by allowing myself to spend more time, then what?
Eventually, you're going to get to a place where the messages are going to get clearer. It's kind of like when you have a baby or a pet, and at first, they're crying or talking to you and you're like, what are you saying? Are you in pain? What do you need? You don't know the language, or speaking to someone in a different language that you're not really good at yet. When you spend more and more time with them, you get to know them, you get to know the language better, and then the messages come through faster and better. I think of it as the spirit realm. It doesn't it doesn't if you're not listening, if you're not spending time and having fun with the spirit realm, it's not really going to give you any good juice. But when you really spend time and say, "Oh, I'm open, I'm listening, I'm going to go in AI, I'm going to look at this probability," or I say, "I'm going to sit back at my desk, I'm not going to move on right now, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to open my heart, I'm going to treat this synchronicity as a soft, cuddly kitten and shower myself with self love at this moment." Then I get the message, maybe I should take a break right now, or maybe I should call that friend right now. And life is just lighter and less dense. And I've opened up the fifth dimension. I might be opening up.
Well, we'll get to the fifth dimension because I think it's a lot of fun to be there. It's more fun a lot of times than here, but in this case, I'm calling a friend that happens to be Sugar Ray Leonard about this, and I spent some time with it. And what I would add as I thought about this, I'm going through a tumultuous period right now with this group that I'm a part of, and things are in turmoil. And it's somehow I think the context of that turmoil and this security code. I mean, I play with the term security here.
Ooh, I love that. I didn't even catch that. Wonderful.
Go ahead. Well, where do you go with that?
Oh, security code. So in relationship to this group, do you feel secure in this group? Do you feel confident in this group? Do you feel that it's moving forward? It's a value for you and everyone else right now? Are you
This
questioning?
It's a big transformation in the group, and it's the old idea that in chaos there's opportunity, and and I like that idea that and I'm a Pisces or something, and I like swimming around and where things are a little turbulent because it's kind of like a merry-go-round or kind of even more than that. So it gets a little scary, but it's an opportunity for change. So I'm secure in I'm getting secure in the turmoil because I'm beginning to see what can come out of it. The phoenix rising again from the ashes, the kind of thing that I'm beginning to be able to have some experience about.
Mm. So I think that that was a message uh, right to you that this is the right path, and that was your security code telling you, yeah, keep going, keep going,
Uh,
Matthew, keep going.
that's I'm with you on that. You're articulating kind of what I was feeling this morning in particular as the turmoil begins to become more evident and the future becomes more possible. It's like being in a swirling thing and then kind of being able to poke out and see where it might be going. It almost might be thrusting me into that future.
Yes, and as a Pisces, you can, you're already in the water, right? So you can build a ship to sail the sea of suffering and turmoil out of that. Build that ship. Woo! Right on out.
Right on
Use
out, baby. Right on out to the other side from the doors. Excuse us, the 60s reference to the
break,
group The Doors. Uh,
break
go
through to the other side. Do, do.
break and that movement right there. Okay, you like to dance. That's good. I do too. So that's break on through to the other side. All right. So we've just broken on through to the other side of that question. Uh, I'll wrap it up with the idea that low probability means higher potential for meaning. And it's just a an idea that seems intuitively correct to me. But does that sound right to you?
Absolutely. Don't know, I don't think about numbers that way, but I love it. Absolutely. If you look up, what is the probability of this? It must be a greater message or a more interesting message or more of a message for my benefit. Um, absolutely. Go with it. I love it.
Well, I'm glad I asked you that because I think that's right. I mean, you can see a lot of like finger painting, which can be a reflection of what a child might do. But when you start making that finger painting into words, then that chaos becomes something potentially meaningful. And what you just helped me see is the lower probability means it's a sharper message.
I think that's how your guides work. Absolutely.
Well, tell us about the guides, spirit guides thing. Uh, and the fifth dimension because this is like for Sugar Ray to give us a little talk about these key ideas, the relationship, for example, between spirit guides and the fifth dimension, and anything else you want to say about it because you're there more than I am.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you because I really enjoy the chance to bring together science and the science realm and the spiritual realm. And I don't think that there's enough of that. And as you, as a doctor, taking this opportunity to bring someone on just completely from the spiritual realm is shows how spiritual you are. Um,
Thank you.
Yes, and I mean everyone's spiritual. You're breathing, breath is spirit. You're breathing, you're spiritual. Um, you really have a great interest in it. And I heard this physicist say, who the inventor actually of the Healy device, the frequency device that I use. He said, "Science without spirituality is a bit blinded." And spirituality without science is not very grounded. So he's a physicist. He spent many years in India as a monk as well. So that was his intention. And I really I really like that, um, joining those two realms. So thank you for bringing me more to the science side of
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome.
I think there's a lot of value. So, so spirit guides, um, there's so many things. Okay, you were singing The Doors a little while ago, right?
I
So
was. We were.
we were, exactly. And Jim Morrison is one of my spirit guides. So what I do every morning, when I'm still in that theta brainwave state, is this is how I de-stress my day. I call a meeting of my guides. So you can call, you can decide who it is that you want from, it could be Einstein, it could be Jim Morrison, it can be Elsa Lancaster or Glinda the Good Witch, whoever you find yourself drawn to. They could be alive, they could be past, they could be ancestors, someone from your family. And I bring them together. I just keep my eyes closed, even though I'm now awake. And I just call a little meeting of Alan Watts and Jim Morrison and Nico, another singer that I like. And I bring them together. We're kind of in this chalet, and there's a fire going, and I just kind of give them my to-do list for the day. I say, here's what I have to do today. I don't think about the list. It's something that I know is on my phone, and in my date book. And I just go, here's my to-do list today. Take care of these things for me, please. I'm going to get up and take a bath and know that these things are taken care of for me, and that I have a team of support around me. And so I never feel alone. I'm always looking for the synchronicities to confirm that for me. They're giving me little messages all the time throughout the day. And when I feel in my day like I can't handle this thing on my list, it's just not going the way I want it to, I have this reassurance, this deep, it's kind of like Snow White and my seven dwarfs are around me, and I think about them and I go, gosh, they got this for me. They got it all handled. And it de-stresses me, and I can move on to the next moment because I know I had a meeting and they're there to help me and they're taking care of things for me.
What evidence do you have when you're kind of stuck during the day or in some kind of stress during the day that the spirit guides somehow intervene?
I feel incredible. I feel love. I feel joy. I feel health. I feel happy. That is the proof to me.
I'll go for that. I'll, I'll go for that. And what do the spirit guides have to do with the fifth dimension?
They hang out there, and we're here in this 3D reality, and we give it a lot of attention. We are trained, we are entrained from a very young age to only look at the 3D reality. And so we're not do you know those books? They're like eye magic or something, and you look at them and you see a picture, but then you kind of blur your eyes and you see a different picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the method that I blur my eyes and I open my heart. And, I can get chatty with any one of the spirit guides that I would like to, or I can just say, you guys got this, just go about your way. And so when I'm in those moments, the fifth dimension is a place of joy. So that's how you know you're in it. Okay, so you could totally be online for your coffee, or you could be working at your desk, and so you can just say, wow, I feel really happy right now, or I'm at the park and I feel really happy right now. That's the fifth dimension. Start there. start slow, and then you can look for a synchronicity or a message that you actually have left the 3D behind. I mean, once you get good at it, you're looking at that book with the pictures in it, and you see both pictures, or you start to see the other picture first that you used to see the other picture first. That's the proof that you start to feel, you just feel joy, and then you look for a synchronicity. So say you're in the park and you say, I'm going to go into the fifth dimension right now. You might see a leaf come down. Ooh, that's interesting. And then you hear a bird tweet at the same time. Oh, that's interesting. Am I in the fifth dimension? Another tweet, 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 or a truck backs up, or somehow you're using your senses and you're getting synchronicities and you're feeling really good. That's a very basic definition of it for me.
I was in the forest near my house, singing to some trees that I have a good relationship with. And I was getting dramatic, putting my hands out as I went, oh, something like that. I don't know what I was thinking, somewhere over the rainbow, maybe. And as I put my hands out, I put my hands out, way out. Um, and as I finished the song, a leaf fell on my hand.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you say, wow, that's a coincidence, and you move on, you're still in the third dimension. But if you say, thank you, and by the way, those trees are your spirit guides,
Oh, they are. Yes.
right? So you got that synchronicity and you thanked the tree. Boom, you're there. Third, fifth, and you can just all day long, you can just toggle back and forth as much as you want, as much as you need to relieve stress and feel joy and connection.
Well, what is the fifth dimension? I mean, it seems like a place, my experience, that you can be in, not for just a few moments, but for an extended period of time, especially in those moments when between waking up and actually waking up, that in between state, the hypnagogic state like that we all have before we go to sleep and uh, as we're waking up. That seems to be a place where you have greater access to what the fifth dimension is.
That's a great place. And that's a place when you can get right in there with good stuff and reprogram your subconscious very quickly. Um, which brings me back to part of the issue with your patients is, they decide they want to change something, yet their subconscious, which is what's running us 95% of the time, is programmed differently. So when you're conscious, so your 5% of your consciousness is saying, I'm changing, I'm ready to change. And then you go, I'm doing this, your willpower. And then boom, you get in your car and you're driving and your subconscious takes over and you have that donut or you have that coffee or whatever it is you were trying to change. Oops. So when you get in there, in that fifth dimension place, in that theta brainwave place, and you have a meeting with your guides or you play a tape, there's a lot of tapes on YouTube, wealth consciousness or happiness consciousness, and you play those tapes, you go right in, you bypass the conscious mind and go right in and take out the programming that was set from 0 to 7. When you're a baby up until 7 years old, you're in that theta brainwave place. You're just a little tape recorder. For those years you're in it, and you're just recording and recording, and your parents and your relatives and your teachers, they think they're doing the best, they are doing the best they can for you, but they might be putting messages in that are fear-based or are not, from their perspective, and aren't necessarily going to be helping you. So I highly recommend to work on reprogramming your subconscious, which is fairly easy. You just need to be in that theta stage to do it, which I'll call it the fifth dimension as well.
You make the theta state and the fifth dimension.
Did you hear the bird
No,
confirming that?
I didn't hear the bird.
Oh, this big bird just flew by squawking. Sorry. Thank you. I know I'm on the right path here. Okay.
Okay. Theta and fifth dimension are correlated in the way you're telling me.
I just made that connection.
Hello.
Um, Hello, because you were asking me about it. Now, I'm not a science-based person, so if you look up the definition of the fifth dimension in science, it might be something else. But for me, it is a heart-based perspective.
It's a heart-based perspective. Well, let me give you a little bit of a longer story about that I think is a fifth dimensional thing. I have a very good friend with whom we seem to make contact, let's say astrally. Um, we both were floating around out there, and she saw somebody who looked like me, and I said, "Well, I was out there too, so it might have been me." I mean, it was just one of those things, and I've heard other people do some things like that. But we have a lot of coincidences that are kind of odd. While she was living here in Charlottesville, she's moved to China where she's teaching. And last week she was feeling pretty isolated because they don't speak English in the small Chinese town where her school is. So she didn't have anybody to talk with because the people on the faculty were all married and she needed some friends. So she uh, she went to Hong Kong just to get out of town and see a great place and get around in there. Well, back up a little bit. A month before she left, I got an email from a writer, an author in Hong Kong about a book about synchronicity that he wanted me to write a blurb for, which I did. And I then introduced the two of them. It was a nice coincidence that a month before you got the picture that she
Yeah.
goes, he's there. So I was so delighted that a couple of days ago, she and this guy got together and she called it a very special day. She not only had a person who was Chinese, had been there a long time and could speak English, but shared some of her shared some similarities with the way each of them dream, and sometimes those dream things come true. And so the next time she might go back and he'll invite her home, cook for her and his family. He says he's a great cook. So here, this very lonely friend of mine, 2 days after she says how lonely she is, goes to visit this guy in Hong Kong that I got connected through my synchronicity work, and she's had a very special day. There's something fifth dimensional about that to me, especially that when she left, the last time I saw her in 3D, she said, "See you in 5D."
Wow. Beautiful. And it sounds like she was in 5D with her new friend as well, that beautiful day.
It really does. It
And you
really.
were in it as well.
I felt I was there, ladies and gentlemen, sugar. I felt I was there. It was just such a delight to feel her delight. I mean, she was lonely and she needed friends, and I could be a feeling part of it. And even now, a couple of days later, I can just feel, 12,000 miles away, that there's something that has settled even further for her in China because now she has a Chinese contact who thinks similarly to her.
Yes, and you also brought up another point that I love to talk about, which is prophecies in your dreams, that you can give your dream state more attention. Um, so I meet people who say, "Oh, I don't remember my dreams at all. I'm not a dreamer." Everyone's dreaming. We dream so much of the evening, a big percentage of it. You might know the percentage. And we're really going through a lot in when we dream. Everything that's happening in your dream, you're going through emotionally. So, I'm not really an early riser, and that's because I'm processing everything that's happened to me in my dreams. And then I wake up and I write down everything in my dream. So I've given acknowledgement to my dreams. Um, and many cultures, indigenous cultures, believed in the prophecies of dreams. So, just the first example when I started this practice that I had of that was I dreamt that a friend of mine was in my driveway with an orange basketball. And so I know that, that's a sign, that's a clue, orange, when you remember that color. So then I put on an orange scarf that day to acknowledge my dreams, to say, I heard you dream, I saw you. If you have more messages for me, that's a clue to honor my dream. And that day, my friend came, drove into my driveway, and there were some trees there, so I couldn't see. And all of a sudden, I saw her come out from the other side with an orange basketball in her arms, and then she disappeared with it. She didn't come into the house. And I said, "Did I just see her with an orange basketball?" And when she finally came back, she didn't have the basketball. I said, "Did I just see you with an orange basketball?" She said, "Oh, yeah, the kids across the street were playing and the ball rolled over. So I picked it up and I brought it back to them." And I said, "Wow, that was a prophecy. I prophesized in my dream. I saw it happen in my dream. And then it happened in this 3D reality." So, small example, but the more that you acknowledge your dreams, the more messages you're going to get, the more you're going to be able to prophesize things that are going to happen.
Can you give us some examples where your prophecy actually was not just an amazing thing like the orange basketball, but was useful to you?
Kind of a group situation, as you were talking about, an organization that I was involved with, that a gal and I were getting very friendly. And in my dream, she was very angry with me. And I kind of woke up and I felt, gosh, I'm so glad that was a dream, because I really like her. And I didn't, I'm so glad that was there. And and then on the Zooms, I just started, I could see an undercurrent of anger in her, and that I hadn't seen before. And I asked to talk to her privately, and we had a discussion, and she was not um, up for it. She was not up for any kind of, I didn't want to say to her, I could see intuitively, I could see like that you're angry about something. I just kind of I tread lightly, and I didn't really get anywhere. And then a couple of weeks later, things were going tumultuously in this group. A couple of weeks later, another member came to me and said, "Watch your back. This person doesn't have your best interest at heart." And so I had slowly, drawn away just a little bit, because I didn't get anywhere going head on with it and talking to her privately about it. So that helped me. There's a lot of information in your dreams that can help you.
And did you watch your back? Was this person somehow negatively inclined toward you?
Yes, but it didn't really affect me, because I'm not necessarily a watch my back kind of person. I just knew that her vibration was moving in a different direction than my vibration. and that we weren't going to be like meeting the same way. The honeymoon was over for us, and and I knew that that was the right decision to make for me. And then she had issues with other people, and it all blew up, and some negative things happened with other people as well. So I surrounded myself with safety and self-love, instead of necessarily watching my back for something negative to happen to me. I just poured more love on myself.
Well, I'd say that while you were doing pouring love in yourself, for me, it's like I think I'm going to stay away from her. There's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's watching your back the way I understand watching your back is don't put your back near her is like is is the way I look at it. I'm a kind of an action oriented person, so um I'm I have to learn, and I learned this. There's this guy at dance um who has just made me feel very weird when he's around me, and it started years ago. And I tried to talk to him about what he was doing, and he was he knew he was right. There was high density in his head. And this idea of being able to talk with people when they are open to you and open to listening to you is really a trick. And a lot of people don't want to hear your mind about them. They just can't, some of them, and don't want, they're not used to it. I think it's something you become used to when you pull that woman aside to talk with her. Was she even used to having a dialogue about uh, relationship feelings? Because you got to have practice for that. So, so eventually at dance the other day, he came in. I said, I got to talk to you. And I was nervous. And I said, you can feel my anxiety here. And he could. Um, but I told him just to stay away from me. Stay away from me. Because at dance, you're in the same room. So
Mhm.
you can be closer or further away. And I think he heard it. Um, I was happy to say no. And that's kind of what you probably did with this woman, but staying away is one way. But if you're in the same space, it becomes necessary to assertively say, stay away from me.
Oh, absolutely. And you took the masculine approach, and I took the feminine approach. Surprise, surprise.
Well, if since he's in the same room as me, I had to do what women are having to learn to do at dance. It's not the masculine thing anymore. Women are having to tell men and a friend of mine, other women, to stay away from me on the dance floor.
What kind of dance is it? Yeah.
Ecstatic, five rhythms, conscious are the same name, different name for somewhat the same thing, where you're gonna just do whatever you want. They got that somewhere near where you live because I heard about it.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. There's a lot of ecstatic dance events around. They even have an event, maybe they have it everywhere, where you put on your own music. You put on your own music and do your own thing, and everyone's together doing it.
I don't like that. I like everybody doing it together. But that's different strokes for different folks, man. Uh, it's just
It's not me
I,
either, but I just think that's hilarious that
it's
they're
it's a,
together.
all kinds of ways of doing that. Alone together, what we used to call it. And I mean, it's you have there's all kinds of things that appeal to different people, and that's what's so important to recognize it helps each of us define what we like and what we don't like. We,
And that's how to thy own self be true, right?
I've heard
To
that
the,
before. Heard
yeah,
that
and
before, yeah. To
the
thine
more
own
wisdom.
self be true, which is the corollary of that is to know yourself, to know thyself. Because in order to be true to yourself, you got to know what you're talking who you're talking to.
And that's the work. in my estimation, that's the work to do, to know yourself, to know what makes you happy and not feel obligated or guilty or that society says you should be doing this, to really know yourself. And the more that I do that and the more that I stick with that, the happier I am every day.
We not switch to a little different subject, but related. How how you use synchronistic experiences to relieve stress in your life?
Well, I do it instantaneously with the synchronicity, and most of the synchronicities are the time, um, that I was telling you about. When my friends text, it's 111. Let's see, and we even get to like, okay, which one's coming up? So, oh wow, interesting. It's 1121 right now. Interesting. Little something to say, not super clear, not like 1111. Um, when the synchronicity happens, I take my time with it. I take my time and usually when it happens, you're very much in the 3D. You're usually not at nap time or, relaxing in a hammock or, usually you're like at your desk or you're driving or something's happening, that you're like very in the 3D. And I just use it as a chance to take a deep breath, relax my shoulders, wait for the message that's going to come through. If it's not clear, okay, you're playing a little trick on me right now. I'm still listening. I'm still here. Give me a little knock later with another synchronicity. And I just get into a good mood and I let this 3D reality go and the stress of it. And I don't take anything too seriously anymore at that moment. And I take a break. I take a break because it's so much more fun in 5D or in living in synchronicities, living knowing that life is actually we're just kind of here to experience synchronicity after synchronicity, and all this other mumbo jumbo that's happening in the 3D is not the important stuff. That the synchronicities and living there is the important stuff because it's fun and it's full of connection and joy.
And, with all this work I've done with synchronicity, I've never heard anybody say what you just said, that we're here to experience synchronicities. I,
Mind expanded, right? Heart expanded. Wow.
and synchronicities can make us happy and get us more into 5D. Um, like the Chinese synchronicity that I told you about. It was like, I'm pretty sure it popped her up in there for a while, because it happened because it's such a special day. But you have a way of saying, hey, bring them on. Bring on these synchronicities. Uh, I want to have some more of them. They'll pop me, make me feel better. It'll pop me up into 5D and things will go much more smoothly. You, you know, I can't articulate why that's so important to me now because part of what I'm trying to do is help, as many people are, help elevate human consciousness to recognize our interconnections with each other as well as with the trees, because we're part of nature, just like the trees are, and all the animals and the deer that come into my front yard. Uh, and that we're part of something even greater, the Gaia consciousness, which is feeding into us and trying to be of some service, but also influencing us. So we're connected. There's a lot of webs that we're connected with, and synchronicity illustrates those webs. And I'm just, synchronicity helps people see the webs of interconnection. What do you think of that?
Oh, I like that. I like thinking about the the webs and seeing them, and that to me it's connected to the quantum field and the information field and these webs, when you can toggle back and forth and see them and see that connection and feel it, as opposed, because then you don't feel alone. You feel that connection, and you know that it's important to treat other people as you would like to be treated, because there's a web in between, and they wouldn't be in your realm or your environment if there wasn't already a connection. Ooh, think about that with the guy at the dance. Like there's some connection there, right?
Yeah.
You
And
guys aren't.
I've had to wonder about how is this guy a mirror of me, somehow related. What you doing there?
Oh, I'm putting some basil. I'm feeling like I want a connection with outside right now. So I'm using an essential oil of a plant to help me make more of a connection at this moment with everything nature has for me. That was my intuition.
So I get to ask, what about that moment made you need to get out of here into nature?
Oh, I think talking about the stickiness, and I brought it up again between you and this other person. It was like a little sticky at that moment. You know, I didn't know exactly how you were going to react to that. Me saying there was a connection between you two, and you got it completely. But I think I just needed a little support from nature at that moment. And
So it was
now,
so it was a little risky for you, so you needed support. You didn't know how I was going to react. Um, I'm in this almost like it's a hall of mirrors, and it isn't, but something like a hall of mirrors where each of us is a reflection of the other to some degree. It varies. That you and I have already, I can feel a bit of a mirror with us. It's not strong, but it's there. And I can right now, as I'm saying, I can feel it. And being able to look at how I'm a mirror of you and you're a mirror of me or a part of me, a part of each other, it becomes, I think, part of the curiosity, fun of this. It's a kind of pretend thing. Pretend we're mirrors of each other, but pretending has a wonderful way of becoming true.
I love the Hall of Mirrors analogy. I never thought about that before. Love it. So I was seeing the web, but now I'm seeing the mirrors and the infinity. Right?
Well,
Wow.
that you're right, because what if you have a hall of mirrors with the mirrors across from each other all the way down the hall, and you're walking down the hallway, you're going to see in yourself reflected infinitely in both directions. But we're talking here about the wall, the mirrors also having, let's say, faces of like this guy at dance. So it's not just a mirror. It's him as a mirror on either side as a reflection of my mind. So I can see my mind through the distortion that his mind is relative to me. It's not me, but I can see the parts of him that do reflect me in that mirror.
Yeah, and that's higher consciousness, right? I was listening to one of your podcasts with a gentleman. I don't know his name, but he had an accent, very recent podcast. And he was talking about consciousness.
Federico, probably.
Federico.
Federico, yeah.
Federico. I love that name. Um, so yes, but you're in a higher state of consciousness to see him as a mirror, right? As opposed to most people would just say, you got nothing to do with me, dude. You stay over there and I'm over here. I am me and you are you. But your reaction knows by your reaction, you know that you have a connection to him, just that he he gets a reaction out of you, right?
Yep.
There is
Yep.
something to learn. He's your teacher. He's some kind of teacher for you.
That's this turmoil has been a wonderful teacher for me. And sometimes learning is not pleasant. And whoever said something like this is like, your learning process here on Earth is very important, but sometimes it ain't no fun. Uh, it's you get knocked around a bit, and or a lot. And the important thing is to keep the future in mind and pretend that it will turn out well. And you get to look for the possibilities for it to turn out well. And then sometimes, as with this recent turmoil, the kind of feeling is beginning this morning to start opening up to a brand new day. And it's kind of, I've got a glimpse of it this morning. And it's like, it's part of the roller coaster of life. And you can stay on a flat line, or you can like be out there knocking around trying to make things happen, and they happen. And then it's like kids poking, like my son liked to poke stuff just to see what would happen when he was little, see what happened. The biggest thing he liked to poke with his mother. He, see what she would do. She wouldn't let him have video games, so that's what he did.
I'm sure that was fun to watch.
I wish I
watch.
had more awareness of that when it was happening. I didn't. I was too busy being the bring home the money, work hard, pay, do the organization thing. So I didn't know in retrospect that's what happened. Well, we've come to the end of our time together, Sugar Rae Leonard. And it's really been a lot of fun talking with you because you have a wonderful heart. I can feel it, and your mind is pretty spacey in a way that I really like. I mean, you really get out there in the five, it's like 5D, 3D, coming down and spirit guides, and that. I appreciate being able to talk to you about a couple of my coincidences and hearing how you responded. So I thank you very much for joining me on this show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beatman. It's been a pleasure.
This psychosphere is our mental atmosphere, like a hologram of cosmic consciousness.